God, how you come to believe in God is a personal experience. Everybody's experience is different. Growing up,
Mm-hmm.
I had certain things happen to me that led to my stronger belief in God. Of
Mm-hmm.
course, it started with me being raised in the church, and different things like that. But in order to solidify my belief in God, certain things occurred throughout my life. And I think that's the same. I think that's how it happens for everybody else, or how it doesn't happen, unfortunately.
Would you explain someone like myself who did grow up in church and did have some experiences, but also doesn't believe anymore?
Um, I would ask what happened. What was the pivotal? What pivotal thing happened in your life that created doubt in God?
I would say it was from the point where I see that I didn't have a good reason to believe it. Actually, essentially, I was asked a question. I think that we all need to be asked is, why do you believe what you believe? Yeah, sure, you can. It's and now that not why would you believe what you believe, but investigate that. Like for example, you said that you had certain experiences, right? One thing I always do
Yeah.
is that I don't doubt what someone experience was. I always doubt what you attribute it to, because the experiences that we've gotten from church or anything like that, they can be replicated like almost everywhere else. I think there was even some research on this right now where the people who felt the way that they did in church, they felt the same way at a Beyonce concert. You see what I'm saying? So it's like you can replicate those type of feelings. So is that coming from an actual supernatural source, or is it just your
Right.
mind?
Um, well, I think both. I think it's a perception of a supernatural source, right? So when I describing one of my major life events, I was in church. My grandmother, I was seeing people. I was raised in a Southern Baptist church
Mhm.
in North Philadelphia. Um, People were jumping over pews, screaming, and in my mind, I'm like, "This is crazy. Ain't no way." You know what I mean? As a young man, um, witnessing that, I think my grandma sensed my doubt and told me to put my hands up. As soon as I put my hands up, I blacked out. Uh, Ended up on the floor crying. I woke up. This is what they told me. This is what my family members told me. My cousin was. I woke up to my cousin crying, thinking something happened to me. Whatever. That made me a believer. That was one of the events that happened in my life that made me a believer.
Okay. So essentially there was something going on at the church. There was already like religious fervor going on, and you raised your hands, and the same thing happened to you. You understand that like mob mentality can happen, right? Like even like you can get captured up by a mob, and that a mob doesn't mean like it's a necessarily a bad thing, but
Mhm.
even people just like how I said can that go to any concert, like the same thing happens to them. Like I don't know if you ever seen heavy metal music, but like I've been in like heavy metal concerts, right? And the same thing happened to me. I'm seeing all these guys pushing each other, fighting. I'm not gonna get into that. These guys look crazy, right? But the moment that I stepped into the mosh pit, even if I'm just trying to stand back and stand around, like
Right.
I get caught up in it. You know what I'm saying? Because it's just what's going on. Like that's how human minds are. We kind of follow the crowd, even though there's individualism and it is important. But human minds are built for socialization. Human minds are built to basically follow the crowd. Yeah, I mean, and that's what mentality is. I don't think that it could have been that.
Around, and I doubted that it was real in that moment. And so when she told me to put my hands up and close my eyes, I did it just to kind of prove to myself, like, this is crazy. Just out of okay, I'll do it. And so to my surprise, something occurred. Um, to which she said I was anointed. Uh, but yeah, I mean, I didn't do it to fit in with the crowd. I didn't want to. I thought it looked silly, and I wasn't feeling the energy in the room.
Until you lifted your
As
hands up.
But I did it to in doubt, actually. So, and it when it happened, that was a it definitely shook me. It definitely made me a believer in supernatural and spirits and in God.
How do you
Not
explain?
to doubt God.
How do you explain someone like any and basically almost anybody who would do this?
Of it has to do with your level of faith. And if you have doubt, see what you want to see, you will see, and what you don't want to see, you won't. And so perception is extremely important when it comes to these things because your mind is going to either manifest something in being there or it's going to manifest it in not. And you're going to find every reason for it to not be there if you genuinely don't want it to be. So that's all I can say.
You don't see the problem there?
Um,
Like think about what
Not
you
for
just
me. I don't see a problem for
think
me
about what you just
in
said.
that.
Think about what you just said.
Yeah,
If you want it to be there, you'll see it. If you
right,
don't want it to be there, you won't see it. How come it just won't be
right.
there regardless of whether I want to or not?
I'll say this: with me believing in God, it has worked for me, and it has gotten me. Part of the belief system that I have has I can attribute my current success, my current happiness, my current just everything that's going on in my life to a big factor of that is God. It keeps me thankful. It keeps me grounded. Um, it's just a lot of good things that comes with um, being religious and not being lawless, not being lost.
Why am I lost for not believing in a God? Well, actually, let me ask you a question before I do that. Can I be grounded and grateful without believing in a God?
What would you be grateful for?
I'll be
And to
grateful.
whom?
I'll be grateful that my that my wife is in good health. I'll be grateful that I'm employed. I'll be grateful that I get to do my hobbies. I'll be grateful for the fact that when I become a therapist, I'll be me helping people out. I'll be grateful that I live in a first world country and I have running water and 24/7 electricity. As much as I criticize America, I know that me living here is I have gratitude for it from my parents to move here, even though I have criticisms of America. You see what I'm saying? So these are things that I could still be grateful for. It doesn't necessarily have to be a God. And when you say who should I be grateful to, is like, why would I be grateful to anything?
to anybody.
or anybody.
Okay. All right. I guess the answer to your question is yes, you can be.
Right.
Um,
So like that's what leads to the second question. Why am I lost for not believing?
I guess you don't have to be, but I just know that I don't feel lost with my belief system. I can only say, I'm not going to criticize anybody who doesn't have the same beliefs. I'm just saying it just works for me, and all I can do is share what works for me, and hope that others hope that it has the same effect with other people.
So I get that, right? What's gonna work for some people is not gonna work for everybody. One thing that I always point out though is just like if I think that's one of the reasons. I think that's one of the things that made me come around to not believing anymore, right? Because I realized that it's not necessary. Like just like how you said, I can be grateful and grounded and all that. You can even be spiritual without believing in a God, right? Because golf could be its own form of spirituality if you take it that far, or even cosplaying as a Jedi. You know what I'm saying? So it's like all those things can exist without a God belief. So when I realized that it wasn't necessary for my life to be a good person, to have morals, to have drive, to have purpose, et cetera, then there's really no reason for it. Yeah, I mean, so if it's like saying like if a person says they believe in Santa Claus because it makes them grounded and everything like that, you can still have all that without believing in the Santa Claus. So there's no reason for it. You see what I mean? Right.
Okay. Well, what the Bible says is that if you believe in the Lord Jesus Christ, that you will be, believe in the Lord Jesus Christ, that he died for your sins, then you will be saved, right? And saved means that I can potentially go to heaven. So I would say the number one motivating factor for being a Christian and practicing Christianity is for me to have eternal life in heaven. So that is one perk over not believing, I would say, right?
Can you show that a heaven or a hell even exists?
I can't, but I would rather bank on it existing than not believing at all in nothing and just thinking I'm gonna die and it just being black and nothing, right? So I would if I had to choose one or the other, I would choose to believe. Why not? I could potentially go to heaven. If it doesn't exist, I'm gonna be still assed out and not, you know what I'm saying? And not.
You see the problem there, but you're not seeing the problem there, are you?
What's the problem?
Your religion's not the only one.
Correct, but I mean, I chose to continue to believe in what I was raised with and what worked for me and my experiences according to that perspective. So
no, I get that part, right? You choose to believe in that, but how about but you realize that I'm sure you know that even though Christianity is the biggest religion, it's not the only one. And because it's not the only one, you're saying that about maybe 75% of the world is now going to eternal damnation just because they were born with the wrong religion. Do you see the problem there?
Hey, so be it. I mean, whatever, that's what God says is going to happen. And I believe in him and I believe in his word. So
why should I suffer eternally forever because I don't believe something that doesn't have evidence behind it?
That's not a question that, I mean, I don't question God. God he has a rule. You either abide by it or you don't, and you suffer the consequences.
So it's
very simple.
So it's follow what I say, or else you're gonna burn forever. That doesn't sound very loving.
Hey, it's loving for him to give you a way out.
But he didn't show me that is actually true.
You have to believe. Hey, either you believe or you don't. It's up to you.
Okay, so
you'll see if it's true when it's time to.
I mean, but at that point, I'm gonna burn forever, and he didn't even give me a chance.
Oh, he gave you a chance. He gave you a chance to believe. You said you were raised in a religious family, so he gave you a chance. He gave you more than enough chance. Actually, there's some people who are never raised in a religious family, and they come to know Jesus later on in their lives. But you have more than enough chance being raised in a religious family and then decided to veer off. So you're definitely I would say that, yeah, you had a chance.
I mean, not necessarily, because like even though I was raised within a religious family, it doesn't mean that everything that's being said is true, right? There are plenty of people who are
For
raised in
sure.
religious families, and what they believe isn't true. Like, for example, people whose parents were in the KKK, they're a religious
Mhm.
family, but they're not necessarily right in what they're saying. You see what I mean? So it's just one of those things
It's
that,
one of those things. Yeah,
yeah,
it's
one of the
it's
things
like
we got
it's
to
one of
question.
those things. There's so many things in life that we can question. We don't know what's at the in. We've only explored 3% of the ocean. We don't know what's in the universe. We have so many questions, so many things out there that, at one point we believed the world was flat. So it's just like you questioning. Um, it's like you choose to believe what you want, whatever you believe to be true.
Yeah, exactly. No, I don't think we choose to believe anything. That's really not how belief works. You're either convinced or you aren't. And right
Right.
now I'm at the point where I'm not convinced, but I would actually like really, really question this kind of system. If let's say if I was born in Saudi Arabia, I'm gonna be a Muslim my entire life, and that's what's gonna be
Right.
the truth my entire life. But when I die, the God of Christianity is gonna send me to hell because he made me born in Saudi Arabia. That sounds crazy.
Well, that's the great thing. Sometimes people have experiences outside. Like, for example, my name is I have a Muslim name. I was born. Actually, my father was Muslim, and my mother was Christian when I was born.
Mm-hmm.
He was a Black Panther. He was Muslim, and now fast forward, he's in his 80s and he's a Christian.
Yeah,
She
my
prayed for him for years. So not everyone that starts out in one religion ends there.
correct.
You have
But what I'm saying is
experiences,
what I'm
people that you meet,
but
like
what I'm
my mother met my father.
I got you, I understand. But what I'm
Yeah,
saying is that there are people who start off with one religion and stay in that religion. Hindus, Taoists, Jainists, all of them, and Muslims as well. There's plenty of Muslims who born in Saudi Arabia, lived in Saudi
yeah,
Arabia all their lives, and died in Saudi Arabia all their lives. They were Muslim,
and
but
never met a Christian.
and never met a Christian, because Saudi Arabia, the state religion there is Islam. That's the state religion.
Yeah.
So if they never
Okay.
leave Saudi Arabia, they will never meet a Christian. You see what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So they're gonna
Yeah.
stay Muslim their entire lives, and it's gonna be beaten into their head that Islam is the true
Yeah.
religion their entire lives. And I'm pretty sure there are plenty of people who are moral, upstanding, good characters who lived in
Hmm.
Saudi Arabia, born, raised, died there. But according to
Right.
your belief system, they will still go to hell, despite the fact that God made them born there. That makes no sense.
Right. Yeah. Well, all I can say is God is a just God, and uh, if I'm not mistaken, I don't know the whole Bible. I'm not up on every single thing, but I have a pretty solid base. I would say that if I'm not mistaken, there was something in there about a second rapture, a second chance. Um, so
The rapture is something that was made up by evangelicals. I don't think that's in the Bible. The whole,
oh well,
like people
John,
will start disappearing and going to heaven. That's something that's actually, I think that was made up by evangelicals, if I'm not mistaken. That's not really in the Bible.
oh, you think it was made up? A lot of the Bible is a man-made book.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that was orchestrated by the Lord. Specific people at a specific point in time, Old and New Testament, he directed them to create this book.
Cool.
So,
now how do we
it is what
show?
it is.
Great. Now how do we show that to be true?
You have faith. You can't. It's some things you can prove, it's some things you can't. And that's up to you. If you want to believe, you do. If not, cool, free will.
All right, cool. So if we use our free will to not to not believe something, like I can't choose to believe something, right? I have to be convinced, and if I'm not convinced, I'm not convinced, right? I can't choose to believe that Donald Trump is the greatest president because I'm just not convinced that he is, right? So like that it's the same thing here, right? I just can't, if I'm not convinced, well, I can't really choose to believe it because I'm just not, because God will even know that I'm not convinced, right? God will know I'm just faking it. So it really comes down to this entire system of why be punished for something that we're not convinced of, that it doesn't really make any sense to do that, in my opinion. But I'm not it sounds like you're going, I'm not sure if you just got into your house or if you're going out. Hello? But if you're going out, I can let you go. I can let you go.
Yeah, I'm at work. But
okay,
yeah,
not a problem. Not a problem. I can let you go, Icy. Go ahead. Hold on, guys. We're in the queue. I just want to finish off with Icy first. All right, Icy. Not a problem. I enjoy talking to you, and we can. It was a pleasure. Talk another time. Yes, right? Appreciate you. All right. Yeah. All right, guys. I do appreciate y'all. Y'all, it is a queue. I'm gonna get to y'all one by one. If y'all have to go, definitely just let me know you got to go, and I'll bring you back up whenever you can. All right. I do these Thursday to Sunday. We're gonna get to big politics, and then after big politics is gonna be feared. Fear, just be patient with me. If you gotta go, let me know, and I'll get to you. Okay. I appreciate you being patient. Thank you. Gotcha. Big politics. How's it going? Oh, before big politics, let me give me a second. Hey, Cloud, go ahead and come on up, please, and we can go ahead and talk about it. Big politics. How's it going? Big politics. Are you at least 18? And do you think you give me a reason to believe in a God?
I'm 31, and no, I can't. But I don't consider myself.
I'm sorry. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second.
Go ahead, brother. Go ahead. Handle that.
From
Samuel.
Hey, Samuel, how's it going? You're on live with Ossie right now. I'm going to put you on hold because I got someone on my TikTok. Please be patient with me. I'll be right back with you. All right.
Sounds good.
Thank you so much. All right, big politics. I'm sorry. You said that you cannot?
Yes, sir. Yes. I definitely said that. For the simple reason that you do have that freedom of choice, free will.
Mm-hmm.
I don't consider myself a Christian because many denominations have kind of ruined that for me. I'm a firm believer in Jesus Christ, though. But it shouldn't be, true Christians shouldn't be coming in here and trying to convince you to believe in God. You know what I mean? Like that, because God gave every individual the freedom of choice, the free will to believe or do as you want. You know what I mean? And that's how I feel about it, bro. Nobody should be in here trying to convince you if they call themselves a Christian, because they should know as a Christian that God gave people free will, and it is on you to do what you want to do. Nobody should be forcing you to believe anything, brother. And I stand right next to you on that, 100%.
Yeah, I got you. Now, I agree with that. I think most Christians will also agree that no one should be forcing anybody. I think I would say most Christians are. Yeah, I got you. I would say most Christians are level-headed and they'll understand to not force anyone. It's more on the discussion of do you think there's a good reason to? Because right now I don't think there's a good reason to. So I like to talk to people who think that there is, and we go back and forth on that. It's more around that level, like, because I don't see a good reason. Even though I was raised in the church and I was raised around Christians, a lot of my fondest memories are straight from the church. You know what I mean? Christmas, Thanksgiving, Easter, revivals, going to visit different churches. My first girlfriend, all of that was from the church, right? So I don't have like a beef with it. I'm not hurt by it. It's just right. Do we have a good reason to dedicate so much of our lives and worldview to this belief? And do we actually have evidence of the belief being true? That's really what I have the conversation around. And I do that in order to normalize the position, because someone who looks like myself is always assumed to be Christian. And you'll be surprised how many people, even within my own community, would think that if you're not some sort of Christian or Muslim, something is wrong with you. You see what I'm saying? Like mentally, like you must be depressed or hurt or just an all-around bad person. You see what I mean?
Technically, there is an old saying if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. You feel me? So, and this goes back to you, brother. Like, again, this is all in your heart, man. And if your heart is questioning things, then there's something there that needs to be answered. And all I want to say is you have a good day, bro, and God bless you, bro.
Not a problem. I appreciate you.
All right, man. Y'all have a good day.
All righty, Feared. How's it going? Feared, give me 1 second. 1 second. Hey, Samuel, I'm still here with you. All right, just give me a few more moments. I'll get right back with you. Thanks so much. All right, Feared. How's it going, Feared? Feared, are you at least 18?
Yep.
And do you think you give me a good reason to believe in a God?
Yep. I'm currently in my state of my belief right now. I'm currently on the fence, but I still believe in God. One thing I'm going to tell you is I hate religion. Religion is a bad thing. I do not believe in religion.
Mhm.
What I believe in is God. There's a difference between religion and actually believing in God itself. Religion is a cult.
Okay. So you're
what I
more
think-
of a deist? Is like the
Yeah,
God that you
something like
believe, the God that you believe in, does it interact with reality or just like create a universe and kind of screwed
Wait,
off?
let me finish first.
Sure.
So I think the Bible itself, is created by man, but God did not want the Bible to be created. Or no, I mean, not once, but He did not intentionally want the Bible to be created. It was created by man because there was multiple stories. He told his disciples multiple stories, multiple accounts from him, Jesus himself. He would constantly tell them stories, and since it's a man-made, the Bible is man-made. You would not, you shouldn't really believe the Bible 100% most of the time.
Mhm.
So, like the reason, like slavery, for example,
Mhm.
Christianity. I hate Christianity so much. It's a cult. It got forced onto slaves. I do not like that. But however, stories such from Jesus himself says, like the Hebrew slaves, you should have empathy for slaves. You should have empathy for slaves. I do not like religion itself, but the stories to show empathy for slaves is what I believe in from Jesus himself.
Yeah. So here's one thing I would say, right? Then I would say, like, when it comes to religions, right, especially their biblical, not that biblical, but their holy texts, a lot of it is historical fiction. A lot of it is just moral lessons. Like Noah's Ark is not about, people getting on a ship. Is about, things that are overwhelming you. Like same thing with David and Goliath. David and Goliath is about overcoming obstacles. I mean, Jonah in the well is about procrastination. Just like Little Red Riding Hood is about a girl getting her first period. It's not really about anything that's actually real or serious. That's how I view a lot of these biblical texts and biblical stories. They were just trying to tell us a moral lesson, and over time we lost it. You see what I'm saying? So that's what I would say. But my question to you would be, like, the God that you believe in, like, does it actually interact with reality? Or is it just one of those guys that, is a source of like all existence, and we don't really interact with it like that? What would you say it is?
I would say he kind of does interact with reality, but to an extent. We all know the saying, God is all knowing, like He has a plan for everyone and stuff like that. But in a sense, like, it's not what you think. Like, God has a plan. Let's say there's like, how can I explain this real quick? Let me think. So, I'm trying to explain this concept real quick. Let me just take my time real quick. I'm trying to think of a way to explain it.
No problem. All right, guys. So everybody who's watching me on everywhere, shout out to you. If you're watching me on Volsy Thoughts, I appreciate you watching me over on Volsy Thoughts. Thank y'all so much. I appreciate it. If you're watching me over on the Deconstruction Junction, once again, I appreciate y'all as well over there. Y'all are always here to support me, and I appreciate that. Shout out to my mods. Shout out to the Black Atheist Coalition. Y'all are amazing over there. If you would like to go ahead and talk to me, the phone number is on the board. I think I'm going to put up my Discord link as well, so we can talk through that. Maybe that'll make it easier in order for me to get people who would like to speak. I think I'm going to set up a Discord for it, and then we'll talk. I think it's going to happen probably next week. I'll set up a maybe, if not next week, then tomorrow. Tomorrow I have a Discord link, so you guys can actually click on the Discord link, and we'll talk through that way. That may make it easier in case people want to call in. We have a queue. Hey, but I'm gonna go ahead and get back to Feared.
Yep.
Feared.
All
So how would you
I think I
say?
got a good explanation. I think, I hope, but it's basically consequences. God has planned consequences. He planned consequences. So you use your free will. There's already a consequence there, right? So let's say if I pick up a glass, drink water. I'm hydrated. That's already that's one of the consequences. God already planned for you to be hydrated or something like that. Or let's say slavery. Let's say slavery.
Mhm.
The white man can choose to either free you or enslave you.
Mhm.
But with his free will,
Mhm.
the white man still enslaved you, which I did not like, and it enforced Christianity on you.
Mhm.
So I would say that hold on, my bad. Still trying to get this together. Sorry.
Mhm.
But what do you think? What do you think on the general idea though? The general idea.
I mean, it sounds kind of strange to me. I'm not gonna lie, because you're saying that God planned all this out, so that means that He planned for my ancestors to be enslaved. That's kind of an asshole God.
That's not all I meant.
Okay. Maybe I'm not understanding.
It's not that He planned it out.
Mhm.
It's just the consequences he's planned out.
Okay,
And it's
so
for our free will to choose if we should do these consequences. There's multiple ways he's already planned out, but it's just on you. Should you choose to do this? Should you choose this effect on other people?
Mhm.
Should you choose to affect other people with your choices, which he respects? He respects your choices. Which should it affect these people?
I don't know. I
And
don't think He should respect all our choices, because there's people who choose to be bad with children. He shouldn't respect that, right? So like we should
and
yeah.
in the end, after all your choices have been made throughout your life, when you reach death, okay, reach death, I believe there is no hell, but you just cease to exist.
Okay.
Or for some people there may be purgatory. There might be redemption. You might reach purgatory, and you might be able to reach heaven once more. Some of you, not all of you.
Okay, so so your God is basically a God that doesn't always interact with reality, but he planned out the consequences of all the choices that you do, and then He just sits back and looks at people basically.
No.
Okay.
Your prayers are answered.
All right, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and move on to the caller. I do appreciate y'all being here. Joseph, go ahead and come on up and we'll talk more. Right now I'm gonna get to my caller, Samuel. Samuel, that was your name, correct? Caller, you there? I might have lost Samuel, y'all.
Hello?
There he is. Hey, how's it going? Are you at least 18 and your name was Samuel, correct?
Yes, sir.
All righty. Yeah, sure. Samuel, thank you so much for being patient with me. I appreciate that. Do you think you give me a good reason to believe in a God?
Yes. Yes, I do.
All right.
Well, sorry, I'm trying to pause I had live stream going. Okay, yeah. What was your name, man? Sorry, I missed that, the first part.
No, I was asking if you were over 18 and you said yes already. So you think you give me a good reason to believe in a God? Sure. What do you think that reason is?
Oh, as a screen question, I see. I was going to talk about the Eucharist, and the Eucharist being the body and blood of Jesus Christ.
The body and the blood of Jesus Christ. Yeah, I mean, we don't really have His body or His blood. So, how will we? What would that tell us? Number one, and do we even have it?
I mean, so that is we do. That's the belief of Christ's church, is that the bread and the wine that are offered in church are actually his literal body and his literal blood, and
So
we
communion?
do have that.
So communion?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yep.
I've taken communion plenty of times when I was in church, and it was just like a piece of cracker and some wine. That's really it. Like you think that it literally turns into blood and and flesh of a dead guy. That's kind of gross.
Oh wait, so am I on right now? Or am I talking with the screener?
No, you're talking to me. I don't have a screen.
Okay.
You're talking to me.
Okay. What was your name, sir? I missed that part.
I'm Volsi. You're on my live right now. Mm-hmm.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, cool. Okay, gotcha. I thought I was asking for a pre-question. I didn't see if it was good enough or not. Okay, so can I give you a good reason to believe in God? Okay, yeah. So, well then, let me ask you just so I understand where you're coming from. Are you agnostic? Do you not believe in a God? Where are you coming from?
Yeah, I'm an agnostic atheist. I'm the type of person, I don't really say a God absolutely cannot exist or does not exist, but I don't see a reason to believe in one. So I don't. I'm what most people call a weak atheist, basically.
Okay. Yeah. So I believe in what most of Christianity teaches and has taught since the beginning, which is that I know some churches just say it's symbolic, but that the actual Lord's Supper that's remembered every single day all around the world by hundreds of millions of people, that actually constitutes the body of the Lord Jesus Christ. And I believe I think you could even take this all the way from a complete evolutionary perspective if it's thought about in the full context of how a human family functions, that in and of itself is the pinnacle of peace and is a very, very important part of actually understanding what Christianity is about in its entirety. Because when you understand the actual representation of the Lord's Supper to be his actual blood and his actual flesh, that actually gives you a metric and a lens to understand how you're connected to your fellow brothers and your fellow sisters, because you are literally actively consuming and being nourished by the constant fruit that men are continuing to provide and bring to a table to keep the human race protected.
I don't know, man. That sounds kind of gross. Like we eating motherfuckers, like bro. Like I don't know, man. We're actually drinking the blood and eating the flesh of a carpenter.
Yeah, I mean,
like I don't know, bro. Like that sounds. I'm not sure if I should be part of that. That's basic. I mean, what's the difference between that and just being a pagan, really? Because it's like we might as well just be that if we're gonna go ahead and symbolically eat blood and drink flesh. Or I'm saying drink flesh. I mean, drink blood and eat flesh. Got that backwards.
Right. So you think what's the difference between that and being a pagan? I mean, so I think that is in terms of peace. I come from the tradition of Norway, where we follow Thor and we worship Odin, which is a different kind of scenario, because in that scenario you have men who lead the Vikings, where whenever there's a new challenge presented or a new problem, another person comes in, brings the hammer, answers the solution, and then men continue to follow that person. But you constantly have to have new men coming into the group, physically sacrificing themselves for the betterment of the entire community. And so in real world practical terms, it does constitute to we rely on each other, and we truly use, as a community, use the bodies of our brothers and really the bodies of our fathers to survive and to be protected. And eventually it, I think, stands out as a witness to peace, because there's a reason to not continue having to be violent and murdering people when we have an actual table of peace.
I mean, that sounds
able to understand.
Yeah, I mean that sounds great. You know what I mean? So being from the Nordic countries, yeah, you could go back to what was that, Norse paganism. That sounds great. And my ancestors being from Western Africa, I could go back to voodoo. Like, we don't need to be Christian. Yeah, like these societies had like functional societies and morals before religion ever came into the picture, or before Christianity ever came into the picture. So we ain't got to believe it, right?
I mean, so that's what I mean. No, you don't. And the church actually teaches that other religions and other people who are spiritual and who do have their own moral codes are not automatically condemned to hell. So it's not
Okay,
a
cool.
one black and white kind of a thing.
Okay, cool.
What they teach is
Are
yeah.
are you on the Catholic or the Eastern Orthodox?
Catholic.
Catholic. Okay. Actually, yeah. I have heard Catholics say that. Yeah, there's not every Catholic is fire and brimstone type of person. Yeah. So yeah. Okay. Cool. I mean, so because from what I understand from what a lot of Catholics say, it's more of a purgatory. You get kind of cleansed out or something like that, and then you get into heaven, or just people who just stay in purgatory, but it's not hell for like eternal damnation and fire, but it's not heaven either. It's kind of like a middle ground, and a lot of people be like, all right, I'll stay in the middle ground, that's fine. So like I don't have a lot of beef with that type of theology, right? It's more along the line of, should I accept that wine and crackers are actually turning into a literal flesh and blood of the son of the almighty creator God of the entire universe? Like, what's a good reason for me to believe that part? Like, I don't see a good reason to believe that.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, I can give you an empirical answer, which would be, I don't have the links for it right now, but there have been documented in the 20th century, at least, instances of the Eucharist, the body of Christ, actually becoming human flesh and human tissue, and they've been taken to cardiologists. They've actually been tested, and it's of course Catholic, so they've been deemed specifically miraculous events. But those are things that have been witnessed and been verified by scientific authorities, non-religious scientific authorities outside of the church. So empirically, there's an argument for that. But then to come in and talk about it spiritually, it provides a basic, a holistic and completely encompassing framework for men to understand each other's suffering and the fruits of their labors, and to understand that we do not have to continue competing with each other and going to war and seeking out solutions that are anything other than peace, when we comprehend that it is actually the flesh of our brothers who are constantly being represented and fed to us in a peaceful way through the fruits of our labors and through the hands of our labors, which is why it's, of course, very important that there's only one guy at the top and he was born of a virgin, so none of the other men have to come and argue over who's got the best dad or whatever.
Yeah, but I mean, the thing is when it comes to that, right? Like, number one, I don't think you need hierarchy for peace. And we can seek, just like how you said, like the church already teaches that people who have a moral framework but are in other religion are not necessarily doomed for like eternal damnation. So if that's the case, we can still seek peace and we can still seek like togetherness and with the human community, not really believe, like what I'm trying to say is, like, not to be rude, but it doesn't really give me a good reason to believe that, because it's like we're all seeking peace, right? If you just want to seek peace through that tradition, and I want to seek peace through another tradition, but we can still coexist, get along, speak about our moral frameworks, et cetera, and go about our ways. There's not necessarily for me to like accept one over the other. I can really not do any of them. Does that make sense?
And so then you continue to be agnostic because you just like, why would I pick any of these specifically if they all could just be as good in parallel?
Yeah, they could. Because I would say they can't all be true, but they could all be false. But even if they were all false, if it helps a person out to live a moral framework and live their life, I'm not going to take it away from them. Like I always say that, right? I'm not going to take it away from you. Like if being a Christian, Muslim, Hindu, voodoo priestess, if that helps you along in life, and that's the thing that you need to help you along in life, I'm not going to take it away from you, right? I would only say that none of us need to dominate the other. And it seems like Catholicism is maybe the only one that's saying that. Well, traditional Catholicism, the Western Catholicism that we're seeing here in America right now, where they're angry at the Pope Leo for saying, we should feed the poor, is, kind of crazy. American Catholicism is going nuts. But as far as traditional regular Catholicism, even they're saying that we don't need to dominate each other. Then Yeah, I don't see an issue there. Does all that make sense? What I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I think that all makes sense, and I tried to start there because I know there's a lot of other people who have deviated and who are not interested in continuing to actually repeat what the church has taught for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Because after the understanding of what the actual sacrifice, what the actual body of Christ is, then we move into the part of, well, now here's a prophecy. This is the will of the Father as it's been presented and shown of the universal Father,
Mm-hmm.
of the last, who does his part and carves his face in the stone and says all this kind of stuff, who has shown us his will for a first time. But then there's a second part to the religion, which is this may be today, but there's also going to be an event in the future that the rest of the human race should be preparing for, ought to be prepared. You would just be safer and more protected if you are beginning to attune your heartstrings to the Eucharist and to the body and blood of Christ, because there is going to be a second revelation of the body of Jesus Christ, and there is going to be a second form of the Father, of the human race,
Mm-hmm.
that is going to be made visible and shown to the rest, which is, of course, the Judgment Day that everyone, I'm sure you've heard of before,
I've heard the Judgment Day. See that, and that's the thing. Like, why? I guess I'll go back to the question. Why should I believe that Judgment Day over something like Ragnarok?
Why you should believe that Judgment Day over something like Ragnarok.
Mm-hmm.
So my understanding is with the Vikings is that has been pretty much developed in parallel to the teachings of the Catholic Church. So the Vikings, we've signed treaties with the Catholic Church. We've developed our formal expose of our religion around the Davidic history. So when we talk about a father, Odin, he's actually a descendant of David in Norse mythology. So it's actually wrapped around the actual Catholic teaching of the rest of those kinds of things. So,
I'm not sure about that. There are poems that existed like thousands of years before Catholicism about Ragnarok.
Yes.
Right?
I don't know about Ragnarok specifically. I do know about Thor. I do know those things predate it.
Mm.
But that's what is so beautiful about the Eucharist, is because it is able to include every other spiritual tradition into it. With Ragnarok, I don't know how that would work with any of the other religions. But when we're talking about the second coming of the Lord, it's in this idea of he's given all of the nations time to come into his holy place and to come into his altar,
Mm-hmm.
and to see what the constant suffering of his children have been for a long time.
Sam, I'm sorry to cut you off, but we are out of time. But I definitely appreciate you, and call back anytime. All right.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Not a problem. All right, guys. I appreciate y'all. I did get a few other callers who called in. I apologize I didn't get to y'all yet. I'm going to get to y'all now. Let me just go ahead and do a quick break. All right, y'all. Go ahead and keep tapping that screen. I do appreciate you all for being here. It is appreciated. Y'all tap that screen. Please tap that screen. Thank you all so much for being here and supporting me and supporting this live. Caddy, I do see you. I'm gonna go ahead and bring you up in a moment. I'm just taking calls and one-on-ones right now. Excuse me. So again, if you'd like to talk about what I have on the board, go ahead and you can hit the guest request button, or you can call into this number 786-530-5941. Tomorrow, I think I'm gonna have a queue. Tomorrow, I think I'm going to have a queue, and it's going to be basically a Discord link. I'm going to go ahead and tomorrow I'm going to put the Discord link in the chat, and I think that'll work out pretty well because at that point, then I can have a queue going. Then I can, talk to people, and, one by one, we'll go ahead and have the conversation. I'm going to start my own personal Discord soon, Volsey's Congregation. If you'd like to be part of the Volsey congregation, go ahead and let me know in the chat, and I will add you. And it will be pinned as well. Once again, I'm going to go ahead and get back to the calls. I'm going to call back the people who called me before. Just give me 1 second, y'all. Over on the Deconstruction Junction, I appreciate y'all keeping the conversation going. I see Resist is again going back and forth with someone. Resist, you always going back and forth with somebody, bro. You always go back and forth with somebody. Over on the Black Atheist Coalition, if you would like to talk about what I have on the board, go ahead and call on in, and I appreciate you. Over on Volsy Thoughts channel, go ahead and hit up that give goal. I appreciate you if you will. Keep that conversation going over there as well. Y'all are amazing. I'm going to go ahead and give a call back to the people who called before and see if we can go ahead and get them on. All right, give me a second, y'all. Let's see if we can get them back on the line. All right, looks like we can't. Let's try the next person. Let's see if we can get them back on the line.
Hello?
Hey, how's it going? You just called in earlier to my show. Can I get your name and age, please?
Okay, I am Cora and I'm 89.
How you doing, Cora 89? Do you think you can give me a good reason to believe in a God?
Because I like gorillas and I like big butts and I like
to throw my feces.
Okay, cool. All right, we're gonna go ahead and move on, guys. We'll move on from this filth tonight. All right, y'all. So if you would like to talk to me, go ahead and call in that number 786-530-5941. Do appreciate you all being here. Do appreciate everybody who's watching from the Deconstruction Junction. If anyone from the Deconstruction Junction would like to call in, you guys could go ahead and call on in. I see y'all going back and forth, but go ahead and call on in and we can have that discussion. And over on the Volsy Thoughts, I appreciate y'all for keeping the conversation going. Over on the Volsy Thoughts, I appreciate y'all as well. All right. Go ahead and bring them folks up. I think after this, I might join another live. Hey, Caddy, how's it going, bro?
How you doing, man?
I'm all right. How's it hanging, bro?
Man, just hearing that other guy, man. That man was a white nationalist undercover, bro.
I know that Odinism is connected a lot with them, but there are some Odinists who are not. So I didn't want to assume that. But you probably caught something I didn't catch.
Yeah, the Abrahamic syncretism with the Norse mythology. The Abrahamic scholars, when they wrote about the Norse, they looked at it from a very biased point of view, and they wrote about it from a very biased point of view, and they nearly destroyed that indigenous spirituality. The only thing that survived is some poems and a few stones, which they put together to make sense of the mythology of the Norse. Now, to your point, there are some Europeans that consider themselves, close to that Norse pantheon, but they again only have the Abrahamic scholarly perspectives of the Norse and those poems and the stones to go off of. So they don't have a system or methodology within their spiritual system. They have a mythology, that's no doubt, but that mythology is very how you want to put it, it's speculative. You know what I mean? It's very speculative. So not to go against any Norse pagans out there, but it's, you know what I mean? Because it is a pagan thing per se. And I don't like using the word pagan even, because pagan is a derogatory term given to indigenous peoples and spiritualities. You know what I'm saying? But what a lot of people don't understand is the evolution of Abrahamic monotheism and how it comes about. It comes about out of polytheism, Middle Eastern polytheism. And over time, it mixes with a bunch of other indigenous systems and kind of war with each other. They fight over it. They have problems. They create their own versions and monotheisms. Judaism, has their own indigenous connections. As you know, Catholicism goes into the Greek and the Roman pantheons a little bit.
Mhm.
Now, Greek mythology, they do have their own system that you can be a part of and everything else like that, and it's well intact and it hasn't been infected by Abrahamic washing. And as you know this very well. A lot of people, a lot of African indigenous cultures have been kind of Abrahamic washed in a lot of ways, and a lot of people
Oh, definitely.
a lot of people do syncretism. Same with like Santa Maria and Oshun. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
people
definitely.
people do that syncretism. But the thing is a lot of people not educated enough to do proper syncretism, and that's where people get conflated. And then you got New Age spirituality mixing up in the mix. We got the starseed theory people. You know what I'm saying? You ever meet
Yeah,
those
exactly.
starseed theory people?
Yeah,
and
I've heard those before.
Starseed theory comes out of a racist ideology, man. It comes out of that Aryan Nazi thing. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And a lot of people don't know that. And New Age starseed theory is all mixed up. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
We got people talking about Akashic records, right?
Mhm.
But Akasha is the deity of Aditya in Hinduism, and it's Akasha records. It's an appropriation of an Eastern term, and people don't even know that. And they usually use, "Oh, I dug into the Akashic records," and it's like, bro.
Yeah. There a lot of times they don't know what the hell they're talking about. But yeah, man. Yeah, you're always up here teaching, man. I'm always appreciated. We're just gonna go ahead and wait around for more people to call in. I'm gonna drop you real quick, and then we'll go ahead and wait for them. But I appreciate you, though, bro.
No problem, man.
Yep. All right, guys. Once again, I appreciate y'all being here. Go ahead and tap that screen over on TikTok. If you would like to speak about what I have on the board, go ahead and call in. There are always folks who comment, just like the professor guy. And I told him, hey, go ahead and call on in and we could talk. He said that math and science point to a creator. Okay, cool. Let me know how. Go ahead and call in and we can speak about it. How's it going, Pragmatic Crystal, over on my YouTube? Shout out to you. Go ahead and tap that screen. Anybody want to discuss what I have on the board? If you are a believer, go ahead and call on in. Ask me, what can you give me a good reason to believe in your particular God? Over on the Black Atheist Coalition, over there as well. I would appreciate anybody who would call in, like to talk about it. And yeah, we are here, y'all. We're gonna be sitting here discussing just to see what's up, what's going on. We did have some good callers before. Let me go ahead and call back that last person. All right, guess they don't want to speak anymore. But hey, y'all, once again I appreciate y'all. I'm gonna go ahead and might end up in a few minutes. Slingstone over on my YouTube. Go ahead and call in, and we can definitely have that conversation. All right. Let me know why I should believe that salvation is even a real thing. Dumbo over on my TikTok. How's it going, bro? What's up? If you want to talk about what I have on the board, go ahead and hit that request button, and we can definitely go ahead and have that conversation. So Slingstone, if you would like to speak about that and speak about salvation. Now, I don't like to talk to comments going back and forth, because by the time I explain something or out in depth, you're probably going to have another comment and I got to respond to that. And then you're going to respond to something that I said beforehand. It just wastes a lot of time. Just go ahead and call in, and then we have a better conversation that way. Because instead of me just reading off what you're saying, the audience can actually hear what you're saying. So go ahead and call in instead. And I don't save any of the numbers. Like, I'm not paying attention to that anyway. So I don't save any of the numbers. So just call in. No, Slingstone, I'm not gonna ask you questions. Go ahead and just call in, and then we can have the discussion. You as well, Chad. Go ahead and call in. Because there was a time where I was convinced. I'm not convinced now. Yeah, I mean, because again, like things can be replicated, right? So, well, I think what would convince me is more solid evidence than me just feeling something. Yeah, I wish I could show my screen, but Diego and Resist, a mod over on a Deconstruction Junction, they've been going back and forth for like 30, 40 minutes now. I don't know, man. Maybe they should come over here to the TikTok and hash that out, because they've been going back and forth for like 30 minutes. Yeah, so Razor, if you don't care what I believe in, you can just go ahead and swipe away. Like, I'm not sure why you're commenting. Go ahead and swipe away if you don't care. All right, yeah, we're just gonna wait for either Chad Warren or Slingstone over on my YouTube to call in and have that discussion. And we're gonna see if Resist and Diego over on the Deconstruction Junction want to come over to TikTok to hash it out, because they've been, their thumbs gotta be tired by this point. They've been typing furiously. All right. You know, if I don't get any more calls within probably the next 5 to 10 minutes, I'm just going to go ahead and get out of here. But I do appreciate y'all for being here. Once again, I do these type of discussions for us to get a better idea of each other's positions, for us to normalize, non-belief, because again, you'll be surprised how many people would, for someone who looks like me, being a non-believer is still not normal. And not only is it not normal, people actually believe that I actually have like mental or emotional problems for not believing. So I do these type of discussions in order to normalize my position and to show other people out there, folks who look like me, folks who are not just look like me, but who have my ethnicity, because my parents are from Haiti. Haiti is a very, very superstitious island. You know what I mean? So this is for Haiti. This is for West Indians. This is for people of sub-Saharan African descent. Yeah, I mean, being a non-believer is not the norm for us. And I want to create that community that shows that we do have people here. You know what I mean? Yeah, Slingstone, call in, like I said. Like, I'm just going to keep telling you the same thing. Go ahead and call in. If you want to talk about that, go ahead and call in. Now, I don't take testimony as evidence of anything, right? Because testimony it may be evidence to you, but it's hearsay to me. You can't demonstrate your testimony to me. You know what I'm saying? So that's why we don't take testimony as anything seriously. But you can go ahead and call on Slingstone. But I don't do preaching. All right. So don't preach in my chat. I'm not gonna. If you do some preaching in my chat, the mods are gonna mute you. So don't preach in the chat. Just call in and discuss. The chat is not the place where you discuss and debate. You do that with me here on the stage. All right, so I'm going to give it about maybe 5 more minutes. And if I don't get any more calls, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. Once again, 786-530-5941. All right, Razor, you know exactly what I mean by look like me. I'm talking about black people. Stop. Yeah, I gotta stop playing around with that shit, bro. Y'all know exactly what the fuck I mean. I'm talking about black people. This one guy told me to seek employment as if you can't do this after your job. I work 9 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Like, my job is 9 to 5, y'all. It's almost 9 o'clock right now. Like this you supposed to be working all day. Maybe you could work all day. I ain't doing that shit. I'm gonna punch in, punch out in 8 hours. I'm good. I ain't gonna be working out all day. All right. So the dopest over on my TikTok. Go ahead and come on up. Let's go ahead and speak. All right, the dopest over on my TikTok. I want to send you an invite. Let's go ahead and talk about that. You said Jesus is God. Cool. Why should I believe that Jesus is God? All right. Chad Warren asks me, what do you think? What do you think about? Let me put this question on the screen because it actually is a good question. He asks, what do you think about what's going on in the world and society right now and the reasons why it's going on and the way that it is right now? What's going on in the world right now is essentially capitalism and white supremacy are on their last legs. This is basically end-stage capitalism because people have figured out that you can't have infinite growth from finite resources. So it's going to get to a point where you have to go get other people's resources. And we're seeing that with Venezuela, with Iran. We're seeing that what's going on right now. So basically, we're at end-stage capitalism. We're also white supremacy is also on its last legs because white supremacy was never a coherent ideology, right? It was never coherent, and it will never last because you're going to need other people. You see what I'm saying? You're going to need other people, and not only that, putting one ethnic group on top is not sustainable because people from other ethnic groups are going to fight for their right to be equal, and not only are they going to fight for the right to be equal, people from those ethnic groups are going to be more talented. You know what I'm saying? So it was never sustainable. So what we're seeing right now is basically end-stage capitalism and the end of white supremacy, and it's on its last legs. Yeah, you know what I mean, so that's what's going on in the world today. There's whenever it's like whenever you see like a rise of like right-wing fascism, whenever you see a rise of fascism in the world, that's always what it is. It's always fear. There's always fear of losing the position. That's essentially what's going on in the world today. Petty men losing their position. All right, y'all, about that time. Yeah, I agree with that. Aco T over on the Deconstruction Junction. That's what essentially is the lashing out of a dying beast. The dopest never came up. I don't know why. Juma over on my TikTok says that he's too scared to talk. He's too scared to talk. I always, Juma, about that. Like, there's always someone on on these streams, right? Either in the comments. It's always in the comments. They're always in the comments. They say something. Yeah, I mean, they either say Jesus is God or they call me stupid or anything like that. But they never request up. They never call in. When I ask them to call in, they don't. When I send them an invite, they don't come up. You know what I mean? They either deny it or never come up. It's one of those things. It's like if I'm actually inviting people up to have the conversation. And tonight I've had pretty polite conversations. It was never a problem. Never got contentious. You know what I mean? It's one of the few times where that happened, where my conversations didn't get contentious. You know? So it's like they already know I'm not gonna go ahead and yell, scream, and fuss at them, but they don't actually want to have the conversation. I think that is the case. Then if that's the case, they probably too afraid. You know. All right, we got one last caller.
Call from
Xavier.
All right, how's it going, Xavier? Are you at least 18? And do you think give me a good reason to believe in a God?
I'm 33, and Jesus Christ is the Lord, the King of Kings. Yes, I do.
All right, cool. Why should I believe that Jesus Christ is the Lord of Lords and the King of Kings?
Why not? How do you think we came over here?
What do you mean? How you think we came over here?
Why?
Humans.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say that, from what we understand, humans evolved from prior organisms. How did I get here? My parents had sex, basically. So it's like we have explanations for these things, right? Like, it's not necessarily Jesus being king or Lord means that that's the way that we got here. That doesn't really make any sense.
So you don't believe in Adam and Eve. You don't believe that Jesus created all these worlds, all these galaxies.
No,
Out
no,
of nothing. We just came out of thin air, or
we didn't come out of thin air. I mean, that's actually what you believe. Yeah, really, we came out of thin air. But what I don't believe that Adam and Eve were real, because there's no evidence of that being true. And secondly, like, incest would get rid of the human race very, very quickly if Adam and Eve were real, right? So I don't think that's a true story. But as far as Jesus creating the galaxies and everything, as far as we see, the universe expanded from a hot, dense state. Now, if you're going to ask me where that hot, dense state come from, I'm going to tell you I don't know. You know what I mean? But I think it's more honest to say I don't know than putting a supernatural creature in the mix and not being able to prove the supernatural creature even exists.
but Jesus is the son of the God.
All right, sure. How do we show that to be true?
Everybody that talks about God, they know there's always one. There's the messenger, and in my end is Jesus Christ, and other people could be Muhammad. And the Asians, I know the Asians, they have their own. Everybody has their own perception of Jesus. We don't all call him Jesus, of course.
Right? But
everybody calls them a different Jehovah. There's a lot of different names.
But
like
Xavier,
names
hold on, Xavier, that's incorrect. A lot of these Asian religions, they existed prior to Christianity even existing, and not only that, a lot of these Asian religions, they don't have savior figures, right? Like Taoism doesn't have a savior figure. Buddhism doesn't have a savior figure. Buddhism is just the Buddha was the one that really reached enlightenment first, but he's not a savior. You know what I mean? So Asian religions don't have what like Western religions have. They don't have a savior figure.
So Buddhism, I always see a statue. They always pray to that statue.
Right? No, they're not praying to the statue. They're showing reverence, but they're not praying to the statue. Right? They don't pray to Buddha. Buddha was just the first one to reach enlightenment in Buddhism, but they don't pray to him. He's not their savior.
I don't know a lot. The only thing I know about Buddhism is because they pray to us. I see a statue, the same statue. I see it all over the place.
Okay, I understand that, right? But what research did you actually do into Buddhism? Because they don't actually pray to Buddha. Buddha's not their god.
They pray. That's all I know. They meditate.
They do pray. They do meditate,
but they have to pray.
Right. Hold on. Xavier, hold on. Listen, they do pray, but they're not praying to Buddha. They do meditate, but they're not meditating on the spirit of Buddha. That's not what they're doing. Like Buddhism doesn't have a savior figure. Neither does Taoism. It does not have savior figures.
They're praying to a higher power.
I think Buddhism does. I think Buddhism they meditate more than praying to a higher power, because there's no central god in Buddhism. Buddhism is what you would call like a non-theistic religion. Like there's no real central god in there. They have paranormal, they have spirits, but there's no central god in Buddhism.
If you believe in spirits and you're praying, you believe in a higher power. You have to, because if not, then you wouldn't pray. You wouldn't care. It would be a normal day. Every day would be a normal. Every second of your life would be a normal day.
But that's
so if you're meditating or you're praying and you're bowing down, you're closing your eyes and you're using your mind to reach the galaxies outside this planet and wherever, it could be anywhere around the universe, anywhere. You're trying to reach a higher power, which means it's connected to God. It could be connected to Jesus. It could be connected to Buddhism, whatever we're talking about, or spirits. It could be. There is something out there. Our mind is so powerful.
Xavier,
our brain.
Xavier, hold on.
And everything is so powerful.
Xavier, hold on. Xavier, hold on. Xavier, hold on, bro. Slow down. All right.
Good.
So a person praying doesn't necessarily mean that whatever religion they're in has a higher power, because Buddhism doesn't have that. All right. So that's number one. But the second thing that I would say is that just because people have religions and they pray and all this other good stuff, that's all good and well. It doesn't actually show that a higher power exists. All it shows is that us as human beings make up these systems in order to connect more with what we see out in the universe, because we feel small compared to the rest of the universe. That doesn't mean that we're that there's an actual supernatural entity out there that's less larger than us. And not only that, again, a lot of these Eastern religions, they predate Jesus himself, just like Hinduism. Hinduism predates even Abraham by like 1,000 years. You know what I mean? Like they already had a strong tradition of that be like 1,000 years before Abraham. Jesus doesn't exist in Hinduism. You see what I'm saying? So it's like you can't say that all these religions are just doing Jesus. They're not.
That's very
But
true.
listen, there has to be a connection, because if you are praying, and you know what the funny thing is, even though it doesn't matter about the in general around the world, us as human beings, you know what the funny thing about human beings are? When they're about to die, a couple of seconds left, and you know you're about to die. That's when everybody prays. They pray to the Lord upstairs, or whatever, whoever they believe in, and or the religion they know. That's the time they pray, and that's very funny. When you're about to die, all of them, every single body they're about to die, they pray to God. They pray to Jesus Christ.
Not necessarily. I mean,
And that's the funny thing about it. That's very funny that they were atheists the whole time in their life, but when they're about to die, that's the time they pray.
I mean, that's not necessarily true. There
But
are
when
deathbed conversions.
when they're in trouble, they pray.
Xavier, hold on. There are deathbed conversions, right? But that doesn't mean that happens every single time. Carl Sagan, for example, was a lifelong atheist. He didn't pray. Christopher Hitchens, same thing. He didn't pray. Stephen Hawking, same thing. He didn't pray. You know what I mean? So it's like there are people who are there. Hold on, Xavier. Yeah, Carl Sagan was good his entire life. Yeah, I mean, he was good his entire life. Stephen Hawking, yeah, he had a degenerative disease, but he lived a good, fine life. He was fine. Yeah, I mean, Christopher Hitchens, the same thing. There's people who there are deathbed conversions. I don't doubt that, right? There are deathbed conversions, but many people who become atheists stay atheists. Like they don't change that at the deathbed. They just die, and that's it.
Do you believe in the devil?
No, I don't believe in an evil basement fairy either.
Okay. All right. I just want to know that too. If you don't believe in the devil, then that means you don't believe in none of the sides. So you don't pray at all. You don't bless. And when somebody sneeze, do you say God bless you?
Yeah, I have it.
Because there's right there. There's a little shine.
Yeah, I also say, "Oh my God," in Jesus Christ. These are things they're just habits from. Hold on.
See,
Xavier. You gotta chill, man.
Can I assist?
Hold on. Give me a second. Give me a second.
Okay.
All right. So Xavier, what I'm trying to say is that these things are just products of being raised in Western culture. Over in Saudi Arabia, they don't when they make an exclamation, they don't say Jesus Christ. You know what they say? They say Allahu Akbar. They say that the way that we say Jesus Christ. You know what I'm saying? Like it's the exact same thing. So it's simply just a product of being raised in Western culture. Doesn't mean anything else.
There has to be a little bit of belief if you talk about it. If you're saying it normally, it's in you.
No, there doesn't need to be.
You're just trying to block it.
No, there doesn't need to be.
You're not trying to think about it. Even in the money that you use, in God we trust. All the money that you use,
that was put in the money.
God we trust.
That was put in the money in the 1950s.
Correct.
Right. That doesn't mean that it was put in the 1950s.
More than the 1950s.
It was put in the 1950s because we were in the Cold War. That's the only reason why. There's no other reason why it was put in there.
Because there's a little bit of faith. If somebody sneezes, they tell you God bless you, and you feel good about it. There has to be a feeling right there, bro.
There's no feeling.
It's right there.
Again, it's simply a product.
You're in denial.
No, I'm not. Again, this is simply a product of being raised in Western culture. That's what we do. Again, over in the Middle East, in the Middle East, they say Allahu Akbar. Again, it's just a simple product of their culture.
When one of your family members dies and you go to a funeral, you guys don't pray? You don't pray.
I don't pray.
Show up at all.
I don't pray. My family does, but I don't pray.
So why are you a black sheep in the family that you don't pray and everybody else is praying?
Because I don't believe
when a family dies, you're a family member, somebody that loved you.
Because I don't believe the same way they do. It's pretty much that simple.
No, bro. There's something in your past that's making you think this way or feel this way.
No, there isn't. No, there isn't anyway.
Why you need help.
Things on you that
you need help.
You say.
No,
you know
I
what?
don't.
I know because when they tell you, when
hold
you
on,
sneeze,
Xavier,
and somebody tells you God bless you, you feel good about it. That means that there's something in there.
Xavier, stop. Xavier, I need you to stop. Xavier, I need you to stop.
No, you could be saved,
Xavier,
man.
I need you to stop because I'm getting offended at this
Why?
point.
You don't want to be saved?
No, it's not about that. Listen, because I'm getting offended at this point. Don't tell me I need help, bro.
Why?
I'm fine. I do not need any type of help. You're assuming
when somebody dies,
Xavier,
you're not gonna pray for them?
Xavier, listen to me. Before you got on this call, did you know I existed?
No, I just fell through.
Exactly.
And you know what?
So
Jesus,
hold on, Xavier. Hold on, Xavier.
And the King of
hold
Kings.
on, Xavier. Hold on, Xavier.
Put me in
hold
the
on,
line with you for you.
Xavier,
try to say,
stop.
Try
Xavier.
to give you some education.
Jesus Christ, bro. Y'all gotta stop, bro.
There you go.
All right, I put you on hold. I put you on hold because you gotta stop doing that, Xavier. Listen, you already said before. I am gonna talk because this is my live. You already said that before you got on this call, you did not know who I am. So that means you cannot make any judgments about my mental health. Don't do that, bro. Don't come up here talking about I need help because I don't believe the same way you do. This is the reason why people have an issue with Christians because of shit like that. Don't do that, man. Just because I don't believe the same way you do does not mean I need mental health. That's stupid, bro. That's kind of crazy.
No, but when I ask you if a family member dies, you don't pray for them?
No, I don't pray for them because they're dead.
Crazy.
They're dead. What am I praying for? They're dead. They're gone.
So you ignore them?
No, I don't ignore them. Of course, I'm Xavier.
I don't want to talk.
Xavier.
No.
Xavier. No. You be quiet. You be quiet. No. You be quiet. My cousin died in January, bro. She died of cancer, bro. I just had someone who died.
What did you do?
I cried because she was my little cousin. I saw her be born, so I fucking cried. She was younger than me. A very beautiful girl just died out of nowhere from cancer. As a matter of fact, her suffering made me say fuck God. Because why would he make a young woman like that who's never hurt anybody suffer from cancer for no fucking reason? I'm supposed to worship that God? That's what I'm supposed to worship? Fuck that guy. Like don't come at me with shit like that, bro. Come on. Like just because I don't believe anymore doesn't mean that I don't have emotions. I don't have grief. Of course I have grief. Of course I have emotions. Matter of fact, let me calm down because now you're baiting me. Now I know that you're baiting me. Listen, yes you are because you said I need mental help, and I don't need that.
No.
You said I need help.
You know there's a saying.
You said I need help.
You know there's a saying. The good.
Did you or did you not say I need help? Did you or did you not say I need help?
You might. I said you might.
I don't.
We're just trying to save you, bro.
I don't.
You shouldn't have said it at all.
We're just trying to save you.
No, you shouldn't have said it. I don't need saving.
Not we, but
I don't need saving. I don't need saving. I'm okay.
And this is why. And this is why the world hates Christians because y'all are hypocrites.
Go ahead.
All right. So let's go ahead and get back to the conversation because I don't want to get baited into an emotional argument. Listen.
No,
we were talking about. I'm
too mature to do all that.
We were talking about. Is there a good reason to believe in a God? I don't have a good reason right now. You simply saying that people say "bless you" when we sneeze. That's not a good reason for me to believe. That's simply a product of our product of our Western culture. That's all it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's also just politeness. It's called having good manners.
Our money. God we trust.
Our money is a product of the cold. Our money is the product of the Cold War. Our money is the product of the Cold War. During the Cold War, the USSR declared themselves an atheist state. In America, to be against the USSR, said that we have a Christian tradition here in America. That's the reason why we put in God we trust on the money. It was all about the Cold War. They didn't give a shit about God.
They put it over there. You know why? In that time, politics. It was 90% Christians.
Yes, it was for politics.
We were 90. Now we're down at 60%.
Good.
And that's the reason
go
why
down to
the
zero.
The Republicans are always going to win because they keep representing Christians. And Christians right now, we're at 65%.
So why they losing?
And the Democrats right now, they don't care. They do not care about Christians
Let me ask you a question, Xavier. If the Republicans were Christians, how come Republicans are taking away money for school lunch? Are taking away money for school lunch.
You are.
Can I say African booty scratcher?
Do it. Thank you, Kiara. It is very disrespectful. It's not a word to just be used. I saw a girl say that. Literally said, "I wonder who all these gangsters over here effing on in my community." It's a whole bunch of TRANN.
I have a boyfriend.
What the fuck they got to do with anything? I'm not white.
What?
Hold on.
Religion, yeah.
Xavier, hold on. So if the Republicans are all about Christian policies, but yet they don't support school lunch, they don't support universal health care, they don't support guaranteed housing in order to help the poor, feed the naked, et cetera, they're not following any of the Christian prescriptions. They're not following any of it. You can't say is they have to take care of fraud. When Jesus healed the blind man, he didn't say I have to make sure that Mary over there isn't committing fraud for my healing blind powers. He didn't say that. He just healed the blind man, correct or not?
Correct.
Exactly. So if the Republicans were really Christians, how come they're not going around healing people with universal health care? Because that would really heal the sick and help the poor. Wouldn't it? But they're not doing that.
The only reason is because there's a lot of fraud going on.
But you just admitted that when Jesus went to go help people, he didn't do it saying, I'm gonna make sure there's no fraud first. He just did it, didn't he? So why come the Republicans can't do the same? Because from what it's looking at, they don't actually care about Christianity.
Yeah, because Jesus wasn't like us. Jesus looked at somebody straight to the eyes and straight to the soul.
Let me ask you a question.
We don't have that.
Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. When the Pope put out there that healthcare is one of the greatest crises in human society right now, and we need to make sure that everyone has proper access to healthcare because that's what Jesus wanted. Was that a Christian message or not?
The Pope is bullshit. I'm gonna tell you something about it.
Bro, I thought I asked you. That's not what I asked you. I asked you,
decline that question because you know why?
Yeah, I know you are.
He's a businessman.
Yeah, of course. Sure. All right, y'all. I'm gonna go ahead and move on. All right. So, Jet, how's it going, Jet? I know you wanted to get into that conversation. Unfortunately, I don't have the ability to let you guys hear each other.
Okay, all good.
But how's it going? Are you at least 18? And are you friendly, or did you want to give me a reason to believe in a God?
A reason to believe, but I'm also friendly. What's it called? And yeah, I'm 30. What am I? 33. It's hard to count when you're up there.
Yeah, sure. All right, cool. What do you think is a good reason?
So sticking to the prompt, I think you seem like, are you familiar with like the Kalam or the moral arguments? Either of those ring a bell at all?
Yeah, I'm familiar with those.
Okay. I think that's a good starting point because I don't think I can get you from no belief in a God to a risen son of a God that you don't believe exists. I think that's a stretch, but I think it's rational that a God could be the cause of the universe. And so
What
I think,
evidence do you have to suggest that would be logical?
yeah, no, that's fair. I think when I think about cause and effect and the fact that like whether the universe is finite or, or not, I think it makes more sense.
Things can evolve over time and things like that. I'm like to say that that the universe one has to have a cause and therefore a creator. It's just lazy.
Yeah, I think if I was making that jump, because I'm not like anti-evolution or anything like that. Like that's not really the issue, because evolution is talking about once you have something, how that thing became living. My question is how you got something rather than nothing. I think that's the.
Well, I don't think anyone is suggesting that nothing could come from nothing. Because as we'll see, if you've been into here before, we've pointed out once you have nothing, there is something because nothing doesn't exist. So
Wait.
that is not something that we say in here. What we deny is that something has to that has to come from something. Things can evolve. Things can and also just because we don't have an answer for certain things yet, doesn't mean that we won't in the future, and it doesn't mean the answer is God.
Right.
Yeah. That's not quite the case I'm making. It's like because the universe exists, Jesus must have died on a cross or something like that. But I think when I'm saying like either nothing caused something or something caused something. Now, whether that thing is intelligent, has agency, that's a different question. But like,
right, but the thing is, like, when it comes to people who don't believe, right, we don't have any beef with that. Sure, something must have caused existence, right? We don't know what that is. Why is there something rather than nothing? Is one of the biggest mysteries of humankind, the biggest mysteries of the universe. As a matter of fact, we don't know. I mean, so something had to have happened, right? It's just that when we put in, just like how you said, that something had to have agency, will, intelligence, etc. That's when a whole bunch of questions come into play. Like, how do we know that to be the case? You know what I mean? Where are we getting that from?
Because there's no evidence for that
of it, right?
case. Not only is there no evidence to support that claim, but also because there is no evidence to support that claim, to say that you believe this, to believe that to be true when there is no evidence for that claim, that is lazy as well.
Yeah. So I don't want to I don't want y'all to think, because I just heard what y'all were dealing with, so I don't want to even act like
we deal
y'all.
with that all the time.
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah, but I'm like,
that and then called the N word at the time. Mind you, I'm really surprised when called you the N word.
God,
yeah, me too. I'm really surprised about that. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, yeah. Look, y'all handled it well. I could see it, but nah, like, so yeah. I don't want y'all to hear me coming with that energy. It really is, and I don't speak with absolutes as far as like absolute certainty or anything like that. Like, it's the fact that I'm like, when it comes to like cause and effect, it seems like y'all kind of agree something must have been the cause. Now, whether that thing's intelligent, yada yada yada, all that's a different question.
Yeah, exactly. Something had to cause it. Yeah, I'm more along the lines of, if something caused it, it's likely a natural process that we don't understand. And the reason why I say that's more likely is because, like, anything that we understand about our universe never has a supernatural cause. Never had. It's never happened, right? So I have no reason to assume that existence in of itself needs to be a supernatural cause. Now, we may never know, right? Like, humanity will probably go extinct in about a million years. You know what I mean? So we probably won't know. But until like some sort of breakthrough comes through for us to know, then there's really no reason for me to believe it was a supernatural agent. If that makes sense.
Yeah. So I guess this is my only pushback, is like when it comes to the nature of whatever that cause was, because we're talking about, and maybe that's something to establish. Like, are we saying that like time, space, and matter had an origin? Like, is that what we're agreeing on, or are we just kind of saying like we don't really know how stuff started? Because
we don't really know, because whenever we say the universe expanded from a hot dense state or singularity just means something that physicists basically use that to mean. When it comes to that point, we have no idea what the hell is going on. Like our concepts of physics break down, our understanding of plasma, our understanding of time and space, it all breaks down at that point. We don't have the math to figure it out. Yeah, I mean,
Right.
so when you say hot dense state, it just means like at that point we have no clue what the hell we're talking about. You know what I mean? It just doesn't sound it doesn't sound sexy. You know what I mean? That's why we just say hot dense state or singularity instead. You know, but like
I have a question for Jay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Is it fair to say that we have more evidence of evolution than evidence of God's existence?
I mean, I'd say yeah. I don't
So
actually think those are
why can't we
incompatible.
just think about this a little bit, where we have zero evidence of God's existence and we have, like, let's say a few evidence of evolution is existent.
Mhm.
Why can't we just sway towards the actual evidence we presented than non-evidence that we have not presented?
Yeah. I don't actually think those are incompatible thoughts. Evolution and God's existence. So like, yeah, my thing is origin, not evolution. I think evolution has a very practical, it's that idea of like who made the car versus how.
But we know who made the car. I think it's not a good comparison. But also, like we said, you're saying because the origin is not known, it must be God.
No. I'm actually not saying that. That's what I've been trying not to say the whole time.
Okay, so
you may not be saying it, but it's giving that you're alluding to it.
Right.
Well, I'm definitely. I'm not trying to be cryptic. Like, I am a Christian, so I can get there for sure. But my idea of like what makes SIP step by step is like, I think, and that's why I was like, if we don't agree on like time, space, and matter having an origin, then this argument kind of falls dead. Like,
do you know what the gap of the gods fallacy is, though? Because that's what it's giving.
Yeah, I know God of the gaps. Every time you don't have an answer, you fill it in with the thing that must be infinite and cover everything. Yeah, that's lazy. I agree.
Yeah, but that's what you're doing, though.
Well, I don't necessarily know if believing in a conclusion means that that's the gap. It could just be the answer.
But
and I could be
belief
wrong.
in the conclusion is filling in the gap.
No, I mean, there's a difference between being wrong about a thought and just being lazy about plugging stuff in, though. Like that.
I mean, yes, that is true. But here's the thing that you're not getting. It is giving God the gap fallacy. It really is. Like, I'm not saying that you're being disingenuous. In fact, it's quite ironic. This is actually the more pleasant conversation I've had with a Christian thus far, and that's saying a lot. I have not had a pleasant conversation on this app or in real life, for that matter, with a Christian regarding Christianity.
Yeah, it's been tough.
I can't even remember the last time.
No.
Actually,
I feel like, because and to be real, like whether y'all believe or not. Oh,
appreciate the manifesting. I appreciate that. Oh, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Jet.
Kate.
How you doing, Kate? I appreciate the manifesting. I appreciate that. Yeah. So, Jet, I think I get where you're coming from, right? Like you don't know, like hey, appreciate the lights. Appreciate that. Thank you so much. So yeah. So when it comes to you conclude that okay, it was God, but the steps before that is not something that you're sure of. But from what you're saying, time, space, and matter had some sort of origin, right? And I think I can agree with that a bit. It did have some sort of origin. We just not sure of where. But you're saying that
it's giving that he's alluding to the fact that origin, because we don't have knowledge of this origin, that origin must be God, and that is something I don't agree with.
It's either must be God or is more likely than not to be God. Is that what you're saying, Jet?
Yeah, I think it's a likely thing, but it's also like I can only make one argument at a time. So I'm like,
no, I got you.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So it's like if time, space, and matter aren't something we agree on as having a finite starting point, then I'm like, there's the design argument, there's the moral argument. Like there's a couple things that kind of keep me in a space where I'm like, dang, the best answer I have at the moment seems to require intelligence. Now, getting there takes time, but I'm like, that's personally where I'm at right now.
Yeah, I got you. So when it comes to the first one, yeah, like just like how Kay was saying, it seems more, you know, the God of the Galaxy. But if we can we can talk about
it's not exactly that, it's giving in the same lane.
Yeah, it's in the same lane. It's not exactly that, but it's kind of in the same lane. But when it comes to
on
like
the same street.
Right. So when it comes to like but I get that, right? I do understand why people will conclude it. So I don't have a huge beef with it. But when it comes
at least you be genuine.
Honest, yeah, you're being genuine about it. Yeah, exactly. So I don't have a huge beef with it, right? Like I get it, you know. But when it comes to the moral argument, I would say our morals are more based on our empathy, because our empathy and our compassion, because we're a social species and we have to survive with each other. You know, antagonizing your neighbors is not a good way to survive. And over thousands of years of evolution, we understanding, you know, being like, I would say what we label as good to each other, uplifting our well-being, you know what I'm saying, and not antagonizing each other is going to be a better way to survive, which is why most of us don't do that unless you have ASPD and unless you're like, you know, the Joker or some shit like that. You know what I'm saying? But like,
not the Joker. I'm like, you know what the irony is? The last caller was definitely giving the Joker, energy.
But most of us are not like that. You see what I'm saying? So, but you was I'm assuming you would say that our origins have more of a supernatural origin. But why would you say that? Because for me, it's coming more from we evolve empathy. Where are you on the line of that?
Yeah. No, that's a fair question. And I think, so I should separate two things. So I don't think you need the Bible to be moral. I know a lot of Christians say that, and I don't think that's fair. I think your conscience it sounds a little cheap to say it this way, but it's like, I think everybody has that programming. Like, I think fairness is something that, like there's things that regardless of which culture you're in, are present no matter what. Now, everybody might have a different version of it. Like in China, eye contact's considered disrespectful. In America here, that's considered like a sign of respect. But no culture functions on disrespect. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's like respect is something, like honor is something, love is something. And so I think the fact that like we're all kind of, regardless of where we're coming from, there's something that kind of needs to be explained about the fact that I don't think we just thought like Nazi Germany had a different perspective than us. I think we thought they were objectively wrong, not like, you know what I mean? Not like ambiguously, we don't just like their culture. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so,
I'm like that's up for debate, because many people actually, and it is very scary, but many people actually do believe that the Holocaust was in fact a correct regime. They do believe that, and I'm like many like palm-colored supremacy groups actually do believe that.
I'm sorry.
Palm-colored supremacy groups.
I'm like, well, I'm also trying to not get the lies.
No.
Yeah, I got you. That was brilliant for real. Palm-colored supremacy. That was brilliant. I love it.
I'm like, how about sun deflection supremacy?
The sun deflection. The sun dodger community, you know what I mean? So
I'm like,
but I think you made a good point.
That's why I call them racist ass bigots. I'm like,
oh, we just done.
I love to call them racist ass bigots. I like to call them vampires because the sun don't even like them.
But no, I think you made a fair point though, and I think my pushback to it though is that nobody who thinks that way thinks they'd like it if they flip the script. And I think that's the measure.
Yeah,
I get that. I would agree with that.
But that also shows that they know it's wrong.
They know it's wrong, exactly.
Yeah. That's what I mean, though. It's like,
but that's also why I do not give like grades.
Yeah, I don't give them grades because they know better. They know better.
For Jay.
Hey guys, can everybody pause me real quick? All right, y'all. This is the time we have left, and about 5 minutes after this, I'm gonna get out of here. But I know I'm sorry, Juma. There we go. I know Juma had one more question for Jay. Jay, Juma, what was your question? And then, like in about 5 minutes, I'm gonna get out of here, guys. Go ahead, Juma.
All right. My question is to you, for Jay. What do you think, and what are your thoughts about the difference between an atheist and Christian as far as moral compass?
I think they're the same. Yeah, I don't.
You
I
think
don't
they're the
also,
same?
Yeah, and there's a reason why I think that too. Like, I think, and I don't think most people agree with me on this, but I think the difference between a Christian and an atheist is like a fish that believes in water and a fish that doesn't. Like, they both still have to swim in the same ocean. They both can be good swimmers, but if one doesn't believe in water, it doesn't make them a worse swimmer.
Yeah, I'll disagree with that because I don't
disagree
think
as well.
Christians have good morals at all.
No. That's
Actually.
perfectly valid. Like, I am definitely not advocating for the name tag, meaning that you actually walk this thing out. So I don't actually even think God cares about the name tags. I think that's in scripture all over the place.
Yeah.
But I do think that, like, there's atheists who can actually walk this thing out better than people who have their theology right do.
Yeah. I actually agree with that. Hey, Jay, here's one thing that I would line, right? I agree with you that there's no real difference between the moral compass, but that's because I think everyone's moral compass is based on a few things, right? Empathy, equality, degrees of harm, and the consequences. I think those four things is what essentially everybody does, right? Because if you ask a Christian, a Muslim, a Buddhist, anybody like that, if you ask them, hey, if someone breaks into my house and ties up me and my wife and robs us, should that person go to jail? Across the board, you're going to get a yes. But if I said, if a kid goes into a candy store and takes a piece of gum, are we going to send that kid to jail? Across the board, you're going to get a no. Why? Because we know that the first situation is worse than the last one. And not only that, we're going to ask, okay, if that little kid took something, why did he take it? Was he taught well? Was he just hungry? What happened? Which shows that we have empathy. We understand the degrees of harm. We understand the equality part, you know what I mean? And we understand that, putting a little kid in jail for taking a piece of gum, that decreases his well-being. You know what I mean? So we understand human well-being. We understand the consequences. We have the empathy, the social consequences. There's more negative consequences putting a little kid in jail than putting a grown adult in jail who should have known better. You see what I'm saying? So like I think those things. So I agree with you that there's no difference in the moral compass, but that's because I think everyone's moral compass are based on those things. And we just kind of filter it towards different things. Like a Christian will filter it towards the Bible and Jesus, and a Muslim will filter it towards Muhammad, etc. You know what I'm saying? Like we just filter it towards different lenses. And atheists, we just don't have a religious or supernatural filter for it. Everybody pause me real quick. Kate wanted to say one last thing, and then we're gonna go ahead and get out of here. I do appreciate y'all.
Hey.
Go ahead, Kate.
Okay, go ahead, girlie.
Hey, Volsi. Hey, KK. How are y'all?
All right,
hopefully you all can hear me. This is going to be a little bit more cognitively, psychologically in depth. He said the quiet part out loud. We're all fish, and some of us believe that we are in water, and some of us don't. He said the quiet part out loud. See, the thing is that we all live in water. We can all feel it. We're all experiencing it, and we all know that it's there. But some people subject the ideology of the water as being something other than H2O, aka Christian. So when you subject yourself to having a formality or a way of thinking that naturalisms or science isn't what it is, and it's something metaphysical or higher than what it is, then this is where we have this strife and this disconnect. He said the quiet part out loud, and I was in awe that he said it. Yes, we are all fish. We're all in water. We're all experiencing water. But you all think it's the Holy Spirit, and we all know that it's H2O. And that's all I have to say.
Cool, not a problem. Hey guys, I'm gonna get out of here. Hey, Jet, go ahead and come back any time. This was probably the best conversation I've ever had with a Christian. I ain't gonna lie, like so it was the best one. This is what I like to talk to y'all.
I will definitely give props when it's due. He's the most genuine one. That last comment that Kate just responded to, that girl child, that you really did say the quiet part out loud though.
Yeah.
I'm like, I cannot wait to bring it up next time a Christian wants to bring up the Holy Spirit to me. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Jet, I followed you, and I appreciate if we can have a debate one-on-one. I got a lot to say. That would be amazing. So you can look me up if you're ready for a debate one-on-one. I am an atheist, by the way, and I would like to have a debate.
If I could say anything.
By the way,
go ahead, my bad.
Okay, by the way, before I go, I just want to say this. Earlier, I did mute someone in the comments. I believe his name was Nick, wherever. And I wanted to say this because he was in my comments earlier. And Volsi, I hope you can click this part and put it on your page, right? I didn't mute you because he in my little DMs wanted to be a keyboard gang. I didn't mute you for having differences of opinion. I muted you because you didn't respect the space, the mods, or the hosts. That's why I'm like, because I told you in here we don't do preaching. And and instead of respecting the space that you were in, you decided to put more Bible quotes in. And that is why I muted you, not for having a difference of opinion. So please, please do not ever pull that phallic bullshit on me. Because that Christian shit don't work on me, right? I muted that Christian gaslighting shit. Y'all walk by faith and not by sight. I do not. Okay, y'all literally believe in a prehistoric Palestinian zombie. And the words of my sister, okay? So, you are not going to come up here telling me that I muted you for having a difference of opinion, and you better not go into other spaces saying that KK muted you on Vosi's live for having a difference of opinion. Because if you do that, I'm going to give you a reason to tell me I'm going to hell. I'm going to cuss you the clean the fuck out. Do not say that shit no more.
Yeah.
I muted you because you didn't respect the space. And and how we do things here, not for having a difference of opinion.
Yeah, exactly. So it's if you preach, then the mods will go ahead and mute you, and if you get insulting because they muted you for preaching, they're gonna block you. If you get racist, they're gonna block you. You know what I mean? That's if you get transphobic or homophobic or ableist, they're gonna block you. You know what I mean? So it's colorist, they're gonna block you. Misogyny, they're gonna block you. Yeah, you know I mean, so it's like these are those
certain things that we do not do here.
We don't do those here.
Again, this is not your space.
Exactly, and we always say no preaching, y'all. Look at Jet. Jet is I'm definitely gonna upload this conversation because Jet is the perfect example of the conversations that we will like from Christians. Yeah, we conclude things different, and then we parse out how exactly do we got there, and we give some push up. Yeah, exactly.
So respectfully, Jet is the most respectful Christian that I have ever come across in any of the lives that Volsi and I have done together. The most respectful.
Best guess.
I didn't mute Jet.
There is no reason to be disrespectful. If you have a strong argument, present it without the disrespect and yelling.
Yeah, exactly. I'm telling you, best guest ever.
Notice I didn't mute Jet though. I didn't mute Jet for having a difference of opinion. I'm like, he's able to come up here, speak his piece, and was able to do so because he respected the mods and the hosts.
Exactly. It was all due respect. We gave him time to talk and everything. All right. He didn't say I needed mental health help. Jesus Christ, bro. That should piss me off, man. I shouldn't have crashed out, but that pissed me off.
I'm like, is he still dodging the debate with you?
That Bundy guy. Yeah. He's still dodging. Bundy is still dodging.
Is he still in your Facebook comments trolling because he got dropped because he's a dumbass bitch that doesn't know how evolution works?
Doesn't know how evolution works. Doesn't know how any of that works.
Evolution or something else.
Can I say something?
I forget.
Yeah.
All I know is no, it was scientific theory.
Scientific theory. He didn't know how it worked.
Exactly. He's a dumbass bitch. Dumbass bitch.
I'm sorry. Was that Jet? Jet, you wanted to say something one last thing?
Yeah. for one, appreciate y'all. I mean, that's high praise and unfortunate that I'm the best person that's came up. But also, like, for real, if y'all tag me in something, if y'all get Christians that are coming crazy, because that frustrates me a lot. Like, the problem isn't that Christians believe Jesus is real. It's the fact that we haven't had to reason out our faith for real. Like, we sit off so long in this kind of like bubble of like God exists because the Bible says so. Therefore, everyone else must be evil if they don't believe. It's such a lazy attack on people's character that we don't actually do the legwork.
And it's disingenuous.
Yeah. And so I say that because I'm like, it's sad to say, but it's like Christians won't hear someone who doesn't believe accuse them of being lazy. But I'm curious what happens when someone who believes challenges the fact that y'all brought up a good argument and they went on to talk about Republicans and Democrats.
Wow. Which we weren't even, first of all,
We weren't even on that.
Does have now, granted, Volsey does have political debate, but that's not even what we were doing today.
It's relevant. It just wasn't this time.
But, but you know what? It goes to prove points I had made in the past. Volsey, do you remember when I said that I don't believe that Christians and theists should be in positions of power, whether it be in law, whether it be in the judicial system, whether it be teaching, etc. And I don't believe that they should be allowed to be in positions of power because they literally cannot divorce their faith and their belief in God from the policies, i.e. in Congress and in the Senate, are making, right? And so I'm like, so for example, and I brought this example up plenty of times, Roe versus Wade being overturned was not a medical argument. It was not a thing based in logic or reasoning, but based in misogyny and Christian doctrine. That is why it was overturned, because there was not a true separation of church and state. And that is why I do not believe that theists should be allowed to be in positions of power. And that caller proved it. He proved my exact point.
Exactly. And the thing is, I'm a little nicer with it, right? I always say evangelicals because they definitely can. You know what I mean? They definitely can. Evangelicals definitely can. But if a person understands,
when you allow Christians in general, even like logical ones, like you have to let the evangelicals in. Like you just have to.
Man, that's the thing, man. Like I hope, like I'll like that's the thing. You know what's crazy, especially the racist ones. I always want to ask them: is heaven segregated? Because it's heaven segregated.
So.
I always ask them that.
Listen, if I was still a Christian, I would say I sure enough hope so, because I'll be damned if I have to spend eternity. Could you imagine spending eternity with your families and slavers? Like, could you imagine? No, that is hell to me.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, give me Lucifer.
Yeah, exactly. Let me go to the black part of heaven where I'm be with Kirk Franklin and them. You know what I mean? Because that seems fun.
Oh yeah, I was like, now that part of heaven.
That part of heaven is gonna be lit. I ain't gonna lie. That part of heaven is gonna be lit. Because
like,
listen,
Whitney probably over there leading the heavenly choir.
Yes, that part of heaven is lit, y'all. I'll join that. You know what I mean? If Pac and Big are up there,
probably everlasting on the everlasting soul food. Yes,
yeah, exactly. Listen, who knows? Maybe Prince and Michael worked out their beef in heaven, and now they got songs together up there. You know what I mean? Like, I'd rather be in that part of heaven.
I'm like, like I want to be where the niggas is at. I not want to be in cracker heaven. Like, no.
This is gonna be white folks who be like, hey, listen, let's go to y'all part of heaven because this part is boring as shit.
No, you stay over there with your potato salad with raisins. Absolutely not.
Hey, keep doing what y'all are doing though, man. Like, I think the conversation needs to happen, and it needs to happen rationally, because I think, the thing, Christian or not, that I think everyone has to admit they value most is honesty. And if y'all keep folding up Christians like this, they will be forced to be honest and say Christians aren't reasonable. And I'd rather a bunch of atheists be reasonable than a bunch of Christians be fake. Like, for real. And so I'm like, I think I respect that. Yeah, like I think I'm reasonable.
And see, I'm like, again, the most rational Christian I have ever come across. The most rational one.
And just before I go on, the last thing I want to say is that I always encourage deconstruction. And even if you deconstruct and still believe, at least you at least you have a rational lens. You know what I mean? You can actually have the conversation, even though you conclude something that I disagree with, even though you conclude something that I think is a little bit fallacious. At least I can understand that you got there through a rational lens than just saying, just like how Jet said before, the book says so, therefore true, and everybody else is wrong and a bad person. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because that's Christian doctrine, really, in a nutshell. And anytime, and see, this is why Christians also discourage critical thought and questioning. Right? They discourage that, especially in the church that I grew up in. Vosa, you know exactly how Black churches are. We may be two different ethnicities, but same bullshit.
Yeah,
okay?
same bullshit.
Same bullshit.
We know.
One thing they will not. One thing that they do not like is any type of questioning, right? Especially from children, right? They do not like questioning because, again, there's that saying, walk by faith and not by sight. So turn off your reasoning, turn off your logic, turn off any type of critical analysis or thought. Believe because God said so. And that is disingenuous.
Yeah, exactly. All right, guys, I'm going to get out of here, y'all. It's close to 10 o'clock. Go ahead, Juma. Last word, and I'm going to get out of here. Go ahead. My bad.
All right, that takes us all the way to Adam and Eve of the tree of knowledge and evil.
Yeah, it does.
Oh, child, I love to ask men. So, do you believe that that if you take out your rib and put it in dirt, that you could create a whole human being? I love to ask men that.
I love it. All right, guys.
Do you believe that men came first?
Before you leave, what are your times on live so I can?
Oh yeah. All right, y'all. So I go Thursday to Sunday. Thursday and Friday I go around 7 o'clock to about this time, around 9 o'clock. I just started a little late today. So Thursday and Friday around 7 to about 10 o'clock. Friday a little later because I'm off Saturdays. And Saturday and Sunday, I'm here from about 3:30 to 6:30. And on Sundays, I do my lives with Black Atheist Rants. And Jet, you definitely got to be out there for that one, because on Sundays, we have a topic that Black people should not be Christian, Muslim, or Black Hebrew Israelite. So that one's a good one. That one's a really good one.
I can't wait.
Yeah, definitely come towards those, and we'll talk to you about why we think so.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
You said that's Sunday, right?
Yeah, that's on Sundays. I usually do them with Black Atheist Rants. Those are really good. But yeah, I do got to get out of here, y'all. It's pretty late, so I'm gonna get out of here. Gotta chill with the wife.
My love.
Definitely. Oh, hold on, quick.
Hey, babe. Yeah, Michaela said, "What's up?"
She said, "Hey."
Hey, girl. What's up, boo?
All right, yeah, I am gonna get out of here.
And don't forget to upload this for us.
Oh yeah, definitely. And Jet, you can follow my YouTube Volsy Thoughts. I'm gonna drop it probably next week. I got to do some editing. Probably drop it next week, and I'm gonna title it "The Greatest Guest I Ever Had," because for real, you're probably the best guest I ever had. I ain't gonna lie.
Actually, so sad, but I really did not lie when I said you're the best Christian guest that we have actually
ever had, bro. Ever had. My goodness.
We gonna do better, man. We gonna do better.
Yeah. Definitely. I think it get better. I think if I start talking to more Black Christians, I'll start to see better and better guests.
Not even Volsey's childhood friend that was a Christian was this good.
Yeah,
I'm like
even that one.
Volsey knows I practice so much constraint because I know Volsey could feel that I want to cuss him out.
Oh yeah. I can feel it. I can feel it. That's why I had to keep cutting
guys,
in.
Our host is getting tired. It's time for him to go.
It's time for me to go. I appreciate y'all. All right. I appreciate y'all. Love y'all. All right, y'all. Have a good night. Be easy. All right. As I always say, every single man should be soft, be secure, be affectionate, be wise, be flexible, be thoughtful. Every man should be soft.